When we think about the resource wars, we think about oil, and we think about the blood and snow in Alaska. But if we take a look at the history books, we can see that between World War II and the operations in Alaska, that something happened. A fight, a war, a skirmish in the Sea of Tranquility on the moon. Why would a world starving of oil spend its last few pennies and resources to fight a war on the moon? Most people think the resource wars only affected Alaska, and they're wrong. Today we're going to walk through a little bit of a timeline of what happened up until the end of the world, from the start of the resource wars, I should say, up to the end of the world. And in doing so, shine a little bit of light on why the bombs may have fallen in the first place. In the early 2050s, the Middle East prices its oil to a breaking point, and in doing so, forces the European Commonwealth, because it is a Commonwealth in the Fallout world, to invade the Middle East, and that kicks off the resource war in 2052. In roundabouts 2053, we see the first nuclear weapon used after World War II, and it's used to take out Tel Aviv. And it sets a very dangerous precedent for the decades to come at this point. Now, by 2060, the oil fields in the Middle East run dry. And because of this, the European Commonwealths collapse into just warring city-states again. Europe is pretty much gone as we know it at this point. In 2066, China invades Alaska for its oil reserves, because China has almost completely depleted its stocks of oil, forcing the United States on the defensive, and, of course, forcing the United States to try to reclaim Alaska. 2067, the first prototype versions of power armor, the T-45, are fielded in Alaska and turn the tide of war, helping to liberate the Anchorage front from the communists. Now, by 2072, due to sabotage of the pipeline that runs from Alaska to the United States decides to just annex Canada because they think Canada might be helping China in sabotaging the United States. So, Canada becomes the 14th Commonwealth of the United States. And by 2077, January of 2077, to be specific because that's kind of a big year for Fallout, the United States fully pushes back the Chinese from Alaska, fully retaking the entirety of the place. General Chase apparently also decided a ground invasion of China would be the best option to move forward. And so the United States gets boots on the ground in China. Power armored boots on the ground in China. Got to be specific about that because no other country had power armor at this point. And in October of 2077, China, knowing full well that they're most likely going to lose their homeland to the United States, retaliates with nuclear bombardment. Now, what they probably originally thought was it was going to be a Tel Aviv situation all over again. Let fly with a few nukes, show your fangs and your claws, and then have the United States back off. That didn't work. The United States let fly with its nukes, and seeing the strongest world power at this point letting fly with its nukes, everyone else did the same. And as such, the Great War started and ended in 2 hours in October 2077. See, now that's the history we know and we're told in Fallout. But something doesn't add up to me. So, we're going to go back before the invasion of Alaska, to the 2060s, early 2060s, maybe late 2050s at that. We should go back to the 1960s. If you didn't know, whilst the moon landing did happen in the 1960s in the Fallout universe, the moon landing was actually different. Different name, different crew, different everything about the moon landing. Fallout. I always wondered why that was. Sure, diverging, this, that, and the other timeline. By that point in time, we also had 13 Commonwealths as well, instead of just states. So, that part there got me thinking too. Why is the moon landing different? Why was the space race different? And how that plays into the next 100 years, give or take, of development by the United States. So, not to jump the shark or anything, but I've been yammering for a while, so I'll just cut to the chase here. I think that before the 1960 moon landing, the crashes that happened out in the Midwest, not Midwest, Southwest, that's what it's called, were actual alien ships that crashed. They crash all over the place in Fallout. First one, second one, third one, New Vegas, 4, 76, you name it. You got aliens all over the place, right? So, I feel like the United States found those crashed ships and realized that they came from the moon. And, not wanting to kick off an intergalactic war, went to the moon in the 1960s to communicate diplomatically with the aliens. We know them as the Zetans at this point. And we also know they don't like people. So, I think things went sideways. And that the Zetan presence on the moon, not a very large mothership or capital ship, or anything like that. I think either a small or medium-sized ship, bigger than the scout craft that we find in-game, but smaller than Mothership Zeta. Maybe a base of some kind, a listening post maybe, was found. So the United States goes home, and it starts to prepare. Next 100 years or so, it prepares to a point where it can match the little green men on the moon. Very 1950s sci-fi. So, in the 2050s, 2060s, let's say 2060s, the United States decides it's time. We've advanced enough. We know what we're doing. It's time to go back to the moon. We'll just sell it off to the public as the communists are trying to get to the moon to destroy our historical site of the moon landing. But we have to go and protect it. And we need to make space planes and laser weapons to be able to do it. Now, as a little aside here before we go any further, let me explain the weirdness of the Sea of Tranquility. The war on the Sea of Tranquility. Or the Sea of Tranquility, or in the Sea of Tranquility. We see from the mural that it's an astronaut in a spacesuit, and he has a handheld, old school style laser weapon with a long umbilical leading from the laser weapon to the pack on his back. There are space planes flying overhead, and it's real patriotic, right? This is how we can pinpoint that it is before the advent of fusion technology, but after the start of the Resource War. Highly doubt we would have fought in space before the Resource War. There's kind of no need to, no propaganda need to do so, right? So, yeah, no. The advent of fusion cells are what made laser weaponry more portable, well, man-portable at that point, without the need of big energy packs on the back. Along with that, fusion cores and fusion cells were made at the same time. With the advent of fusion cores, the power armor projects that were in production since like 2060 were finally able to be fueled, and we know for a fact, due to the later Mars shot missions that the United States wanted to do, that they special developed power armor for use in space. The CC-01, along with the deep space power armors, were meant to be used in space. And yes, you may say, well, the CC-01 power armor is just the Captain Cosmos armor. Yes and no. The CC-01 power armor was developed for the Mars shot missions, but there was an accident on base, killed a bunch of people, bad PR. So, to help with public relations, they donated a set of power armor to the Captain Cosmos show, along with what was supposed to be an inert weapon they were working on. Supposed to mix all the different energy elements into one. Plasma, laser, cryo, and I think sonic all in one. So that you could just flip a switch and change what your gun shot. Which would be cool, especially in space. They didn't send a non-functioning version of the gun. They accidentally sent the actual energy weapon to the set. And, then the world kind of ended, so you can find the CC-01 power armor in Fallout 76, I think, along with the energy weapon. Same with the deep space power armor. So we know the United States developed power armor for use in space, which makes sense. You ever jumped underwater with power armor on in Fallout 4, you know you could breathe for a while anyway. And you'll be fine. It's just, special designed ones, jetpacks and the like, probably meant for use in space and not on the ground, right? So I think, I think before the advent of fusion technology, but after the start of the Resource War, the start of the Resource War was 2052, advent of fusion tech 2065. I think the 2060s sounds better for a war on the moon, just because it's like 100 years from, the actual moon landing and whatnot. Fallout likes to work like that, and so also be very Fallout and very, sci-fi, science fiction. Damn, words are hard sometimes. That the United States government would hover up fighting a war on the moon for alien technology, and say instead we went to fight communists. That'd be one hell of a way to cover it up, don't you think? So we're just gonna move on to the next part. So, the United States goes to the moon in the 2060s. And the United States fights in the Sea of Tranquility. We say we fight communists on the moon. We don't really want people looking into it, so we don't really say anything more than that. We fight communists on the moon, we win. And we do win. And what we win is a bunch of sweet, sweet alien technology to bring home to Area 51, because that exists in Fallout if you didn't know. Also kind of backed up by the alien blaster and a frozen alien being in the Fallout show. So they bring this tech home early 2060s. They start looking into the tech. They start figuring out how it works, taking stuff apart, putting stuff back together, reverse engineering technology of the Zetan. And, lo and behold, mid-2060s, we have fusion cores, we have fusion cells, we have power armor, we have functional laser weapons that don't need big-ass power packs. We have fusion engines that can run entire tanks and aircraft and even spaceship engines. And we have fission batteries that anybody can use and buy. It's amazing, right? Now, a little aside on fusion cells and fusion cores, right? In game, we see them as nothing more than just ammunition and batteries. Batteries for our power armor, ammunition for our guns. In Fallout, though, a fusion cell, the things that laser rifles and plasma rifles use, are actually miniaturized fusion reactors. Now you may be wondering, well, if it's a miniaturized fusion reactor, how come I burn it out when I use it in a laser gun? It wasn't originally designed to output enough energy to work in a laser gun, right? Think of it more like a infinite energy D cell. Stick it into a laser rifle, it overclocks the system, and you can get 30 shots out of a fusion cell, but it depletes the energy source itself. It burns it out, right, from overexpending the cell. Same with fusion cores. That's why you can find a fusion core that's been plugged into a generator in a building for the last 250 years. And yet you take it out and you stick it in your power armor and it lasts, in-game, like a day or two of constant use. It makes sense that these cells and these cores and these miniaturized reactors just have a constant trickle output that was designed to really be worked with. And that they just decided to overextend and overuse them to make a functional war machine. Now, bigger versions of these systems are found in cars, right? Think of the Red Rocket truck stops. The Red Rocket truck stops sell coolant, right? They don't really sell fusion cores or anything like that, because the entire system has been streamlined and made larger so that the trickle-out energy is what's used to run the vehicle. And if you run the vehicle beyond spec, like redline it and whatnot, the vehicles feed off of and produce more heat. Right? It starts to burn it out, but that's where the coolant kicks in, keeps the system cool, burns off the coolant. You need to get your coolant topped off for like $100 a gallon. Think about that if you're ever mad about gas prices, which are still insane at the moment. So, miniaturized fusion reactors in the size of batteries and in the size of cores and big enough to be put in cars and pretty much infinitely power cars. So why didn't the world turn into a utopia? Well, the United States never shared this technology with the rest of the world, right? Some stuff in Fallout 76 and Fallout 4, like cosmetics and whatnot, kind of hint at China reverse engineering fusion cores and power armor. I don't think any of that's actually canonical, right? But, and this is the big thing there, China never got its hands on the fusion technology. Doesn't know how to make it, doesn't know how to manufacture it, it doesn't know how to use it, right? So, China, not knowing that the United States has this, and just kind of refuses to share it with the world, maybe, I don't know, maybe the Brotherhood has a point, right? The Brotherhood's descended from the United States military. Maybe the actual government, not the weird shadow government enclave shit, didn't know what the long-term effects of prolonged fusion core usage would be on the world. Or something. Or maybe they realized that nuclear fucking powered cars were a bad idea, but it was already too late. I don't know, man. Anyway, China doesn't get the memo. China invades Alaska. World goes to hell because of it. And that's pretty much that. But the war in the Sea of Tranquility led to the United States developing limitless power, pretty much. Also, cold fusion from the show. The only technology I've ever seen that's been constantly blue in the Fallout world has been alien technology. So I'm guessing cold fusion is just what the aliens actually use, and then normal fusion cores and stuff were our take on it. And then eventually, directly before the war, we figured out how to make cold fusion. I don't know. I'm not a professional at this. So yeah, that's about that for this. So yeah, anyway, at that point, the United States deploys its power armored troops with laser weapons into the Alaskan front, takes back Alaska, pushes China back into China, decides to push into China, phrasing, and kicks off the end of the world. Now, I do wonder what Fallout would have been like. Wouldn't it? I know it technically wouldn't be Fallout if the bombs didn't fall. But I do wonder what would have happened if the United States would have just let China, recuperate, lick its wounds, while the United States just bolstered itself and worked on its infrastructure more. It made fusion cores more mainstay, made fusion cells more mainstay. Fission batteries, I touched on those a little bit earlier. Fission batteries are like a normal type of battery, except it's a type of radioactive waste metal in an acid suspension that bleeds off energy into the acid, I think. So it's constantly like outputting energy, a small amount of it anyway. Most houses in New Vegas run on them. Most streetlights in New Vegas run on them. Apparently they stink really bad, which is why you'll find most of them outside. I have no idea. I mean, it would make sense, like, the manufacturing process for different fuels leads to other fuels being made. A whole to-do, right? But yeah, no, thanks for watching. Yeah, no, that's the end of this. That's that. Kind of a weird one, kind of an abrupt ending there, but it's kind of how Fallout works. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If this is your first or second time here, you enjoyed your stay. If this is your third time here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can stay updated on when I post. More importantly, because this is how YouTube's new AI has decided to take the algorithm, YouTube only tosses out videos and stuff to more people if we get more interaction on YouTube. Comments and likes. That's it. Feel free to drop a comment below. Also, little aside, might start doing it next week or the week after. Every once in a while, I'm going to toss out a chance to win a free video game on GOG. So like GOG, Good Old Games, like how they allow you to own the games you own with them. You can download the installer straight off their page when you buy the game, put it on a disc if you want to, and just have the game physically there for you to own. They have old classics, they got new classics. I super fucking wish they were sponsoring me, but that's never gonna happen. Anyway, so probably next week after, I'll start randomly doing giveaways for some game keys and stuff on GOG. Stuff I play, stuff I think you guys would play, stuff like that. The only other stuff to shill, I guess, is memberships. $1 a month gets you members only videos when I post them. Access to members only videos when I post them. $2 a month, you get early access to every video I post, be it a few hours or a few days before anyone else. Anything beyond that gets your names in the credits and or shoutouts by me, along with some other random shit. And that's about that. So, you'll excuse me, it is like 5 in the morning on Sunday. Saturday? Sunday? One of those 2 days. And, I need to get some sleep. I'll edit this tomorrow. Maybe. Not maybe. I will edit it when I get up so that it can be up by Monday. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.